Hi, my name is Tanya Ragan, President of Wildcat Management, and we are continuing our walking tour of the West End District with our Locals on the Street series. One of the great things about being downtown and being in the West End is all of the interesting people you see on the street. And I am here today with Matt Poness and Michael Drake of The Drake Studios, and these guys have started a business, a startup in the West End, and made the West End in downtown Dallas their home. Hi guys, how are you?
Good, how are you? It's good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
What do you find as most special and unique about the community in the West End?
Yeah, I mean, just that. It's something like I've never seen before. It's funny because we can walk around the streets here, whether we're actually, basing out of the Grove for the entire day and working out of there, and we're just popping out for lunch, or what it might be, maybe we're shooting down here. We can walk around and run into 5 different people from other startup companies that we've had direct relationships with, whether we've actually worked with them or for them, or just have run into them and been able to network with them a little bit through all of the various opportunities that there are down here. And again, I go back to co-working. I think that really drives community. So when you're involved in those type of spaces with those type of companies that really want that community, it really kind of does itself. And those spaces are so good about putting events on in terms of whether it's a pitch event or just even something like doing TED Talks and all getting together and just watching TED Talks, something like that has been really great, because I think those are the type of things that's really going to bring that community together more often than they would if that wasn't there, and it just really helps it grow and everyone grow together. So that's a huge reason why we love the West End. It feels like a family here, to be honest.
Now I know, Michael, you commute each day, and something that really comes up a lot is connectivity and the easy access to transportation. How important was that in your decision to relocate or to start your business in the West End District?
Well, just for the simple fact that everything connects here. You can either go to the airport, well, that's relatively new, but you can go to the airport, you can go to Richardson, you can go to Louisville area. It's all connected here, and these are where all the trains converge at. So that was very important to me, because we have clients everywhere. So to come here easily.
Do you notice that the transportation element and the DART is a big factor in businesses wanting to locate to the West End and to downtown?
I think it is, because there's a special niche of some of the startups around here that are, very, very involved in sustainability and green practices, and so using public transportation is important to them. So not only drawing companies like that because you have that here, but I think in the startup culture where, you want to be in the city, and I think a lot of more people are used to bike transportation and that sort of thing as they're starting up their companies. I think it just provides that alternate kind of area where, again, it's just so nice to be able to commute here in so many different ways and so easily.
You had mentioned, Matt, that you actually relocated here a year and a half ago, and that you chose Dallas because of the business-friendly environment. Can you expand a little bit more in that and why you made the decision to come to Dallas?
Yeah, 100%. So I was working for an ad agency in Columbus, Ohio, and I think like a lot of people in the agency world these days, they're starting to get a little burnout, and I think clients are starting to sometimes gravitate away from the bigger agencies and are looking at some of these smaller boutique opportunities. So that was a really good stopping point for me, where I was like, in my life, do I want to continue on with this agency for a long term, or do I feel like this is a good point to break away? And I felt like it was a good point to break away, and my head immediately went to Dallas. I had been here a bunch visiting friends and also for work, so I knew a little bit about the city from that side of things, but as I started talking to more and more people, I started learning more and more about my industry down here and some of the market opportunities that we have here. And it was one of those no-brainers for me, where, in our industry, you're either probably looking at somewhere like New York City or Chicago or LA, and I think there you'd end up being that, one amongst a million. And when you look at cost of living and those sort of things, when you're starting up a business from the ground up, Dallas was a no-brainer. And I think the one thing that I didn't know about until I got here was the tech startup scene that was here. I knew that there was a lot of great companies headquartered here, a lot of great agencies that were doing some great work here, but I just really had no idea of this tech hub that Dallas has become. And part of me, as I've gotten down here, really wants to help tell that story and get that recognition for Dallas, because because, I mean, I was just having conversations about it this past weekend to someone that's living in San Francisco, closer to Silicon Valley, and they had no idea that some of the things that are happening here are happening. So all those things kind of all factored together. I was like, Dallas just seems like the right place for me at this time, and a viable place for our businesses to sustain for a long term. So it was kind of all those things combined.
You know, talking about community, I moved here from New York City, and one thing I find so interesting about Dallas and about downtown is it's so easy to make connections and so easy to meet new people. They're so welcoming, and you know, if there's somebody that you want to get in the front door, you can place a phone call, and it's relatively easy. I mean, have you found that with your business?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, with a lot of the networking events, you meet everybody in the startup community here. So, I mean, I know in my Rolodex alone, I can think about 5 or 6 people off the top of my head that I can give a contact to, and they know everybody. So I can easily connect point A to point B if I want to get that contract or if I want to get some new business.
And to add to that, I mean, Mike and I met at a networking event.
Exactly.
That was one of the things moving down here that a lot of people told me, was that Dallas is a huge networking city. If you really know where to look or assign yourself with the right groups, you can literally go to 1 or 2 networking events a night almost. Yeah. And when I first moved down here, it was like that. We were hitting every networking event we could, and Mike and I met each other at a networking event, and you know, kind of shared similar goals and what we were trying to do. And it was kind of that perfect situation where, you know, he owned some equipment that I didn't, I owned some equipment that he didn't, and we just felt like coming together as one and being able to brand ourselves makes a lot more sense than freelancing and that sort of thing.
You mentioned the Grove co-working, you mentioned the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, the DEC, of course we have Tech Wildcatters. You know, in the time that you've been here, what is the #1 thing that you would want to get across to a startup or a technology innovation company looking at coming to downtown Dallas, and why would they want to locate here versus, say, somewhere else in the suburbs or elsewhere in the country?
I would really think, when you think about it just in terms of the DFW Metroplex being downtown versus somewhere outside of downtown, I mean, if you come down here, you will know immediately, going to any of the co-working spaces or any of these somewhat successful, like budding technology companies down here that are still technically startups, it feels like the center and the hub. There are some places kind of outside, because obviously it's a giant area where there's just going to be a lot of startups sprouting up wherever, but you can tell that there's a bulk of them kind of finding this as their home. And again, for those networking purposes, it just makes sense that everyone's going to kind of gravitate towards an area, and everyone's going to drive each other in that startup space. In terms of other parts of the world, I go back to when you think about the city itself and what it has to offer, cost of living, those sort of things. When you look at some of the other areas where the tech startups are gravitating towards, I think it beats them in every way. So I kind of, again, go back towards that. As I picked Dallas for myself to go and potentially start a business, that was just an easy sell for me.
Any recommendations you would like to make to someone who's looking at relocating or coming downtown and see Dallas as an option?
Take that deep dive. It's always hardest to take that first initial step. I mean, moving to another city is always scary, but right now Dallas has the economical ability to help any startup that if you need something, there's resources here.
All right, Matt, Michael, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate that you've made this your home. If people want to get a hold of you, what is the best way to reach you? How do they find you?
Yep, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the social media channels under the Drake Studios, and then our website's thedrakestudios.com.
Great. Well, I will see you around town.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was our pleasure.